everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to, this is another Candid Conversation. Today I have another videographer with me. This is Jeff from Rockstar Cinema. So this is just conversations between him and I about weddings, wedding industry, styles and trends and things like that. So you guys are along for the ride. So Jeff, introduce yourself. Tell me as if you were telling them who you are and what you do.
Okay. Yeah, so my name's Jeff. I own Rockstar Cinema Productions. I've been doing video for, it's going on like 25 years. Yeah, I got started in like the news. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do in college, and I kind of took some photography classes and like a video editing class. I'm like, and I got really into it. I'm like, all right, this is cool. I got a paid internship at a community access channel in East Hampton, doing like school committee meetings, city council meetings. It was very low pay, but it was like really cool. I was like, all right, I kind of like this. And then from there, it was a paid internship, and then I got a job at Channel 22 News as a photog.
I did not even know that.
Yeah. So
I didn't know you worked
I used to work with like Sonia Baghdadi and
wow,
like
no kidding.
all the big names there. I was very young. I was very like, it was new. It was very like overwhelming, but like it was super cool. I got to go and like, you know.
As photo or video?
Video.
Okay. Yes. Now, did you ever do any photo also and then got into video?
No,
okay.
I was always doing video.
Always video.
I was doing video until like later, and people were asking me like, can you do photo? I'm like, all right, well, I can figure it out. It's not too much, you know.
Because you've second shot for people before.
Yeah, I have. Which video and photo are very different. I feel like photo is very more relaxed and less gear.
Slower pace.
Slower pace.
Slower pace, I agree.
You know, it's just minimal gear. I feel like, you know, as a videographer, I have tripods, I have monopods, I have just multiple camera bodies, lenses, audio, drones, just so much stuff. It's a little overwhelming, but then you have a photographer stepping on set with their 2 cameras on the strap and their flashes, and they're just like, let's do this. So I don't know. I
that is so true.
You know what I mean?
That
like,
is so
I really
true.
just envy like the workflow and like, you know, it's just very minimal. But it's just different, you know, but it's just different, you know, but, I can take some good photos, you know, but I'll always refer a photographer, you know, to the job. But like I do real estate, I do headshots, I can do wedding photography, but yeah, like I said, I know what I'm good at. I know what my strengths and my weaknesses are, and I'm definitely a video first and photo second.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I know that there's a lot of people that either started in photo first and then dabbled in video and decided to do that. One of the first things that I wanted to talk about is wedding trends as of now, 2024, and what was it like in 2019?
Yeah.
So can you tell me how video was in 2019 compared to 2024?
Sure. I mean, when I first started video, I had a camcorder with a tape.
Like on the shoulder thing?
No, just like a Sony camcorder. It was very basic. I was starting out. I was new, and like people said, "Hey, could you do my wedding?" I'm like, "All right, yeah." You know, I was dabbling in video, and then over time, I figured out, you know, like I'm gonna need a tripod, a monopod, and it just started like
the evolution
accumulating of like gear.
100%.
For me to do the job right, I had to accumulate the gear that I felt would do it justice. And I never really went into it saying, all right, cool, I can just video your wedding. I wanted to make it as best as possible. So then I kind of went down the slippery slope of like buying gear and like, you know, just with cost, everything is so more expensive. But yeah, I remember doing my first wedding for like $200.
Wow.
Like I think I used like a copyrighted song of like Mazzy Star, Fade Into You, and some like ripple effects from iMovie. I just started it, and you know, they're like, oh wow, I love it. It was really great. I'm like, all right, cool. But I was never satisfied. I always want to make it better.
And that's the creative in you.
Yeah.
That's the creative in you that wanted to do, how can I make the next film better?
Yeah. I mean, that was my art. Like I just kind of like, I know what I like to see, and I like to emulate, you know, certain styles. And I'll always like to make it. I don't like to go into something and do it half-ass. I want to make it look amazing. And if I don't know how to make it look amazing, I'm going to do a lot of research. like YouTube University.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm going to learn. There's a lot of things like I don't know how to do, but I'm very, autodidact, so I can like learn things on my own. I never went to college I went to community college, but like everything was self-taught.
Yeah.
I go down a rabbit hole of like just trying to figure things out on my own.
Yeah. Everybody learns different.
Yeah.
Different levels, different speeds, different amounts, different times, and everybody's different when it comes to that. For people like you and I, the end result is what we learned from X is now our product now.
Yeah.
Do you feel like video is picking up in 2024 going forward into 2025 and 26?
I mean, video is everything. If you look on your phone,
100%.
Social media is video.
100%. For weddings wise, though.
Yeah, weddings wise. I mean, I feel like every couple wants a video.
I agree.
I feel like they all want one.
They're at least interested in it when it comes to that. And I've noticed this 2024, and now I'm looking at 2025, a lot more people are requesting and or asking me about video.
Sure.
So that tells me there's something in the industry that people are actually, because I felt like for a while there was like almost like video was very popular back in 2010, 11, 12, where everybody wanted video and or photo together. I feel like after that, there was more of a trend of photo only because they really couldn't afford photo and video.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't feel like that's like that anymore. I'm noticing a lot more people are at least inquiring about photo and video. And that tells me there's at least something in the market telling me that people are either interested in it and or doing it. Have you noticed a rise in either client inquiries?
Yeah, I think I get a lot of people inquiring about video. I think they want video, but I think it's just an afterthought. Like, you know, to be honest, it really just comes down to budget.
100%.
You know what 100%, I mean? I feel like people want everything, but they really have to just, budget for it.
Yeah.
And, if you look at weddings as a whole, weddings are expensive. I mean, there's a lot that goes into weddings, and it was really funny, actually, like the day before, we said we're going to do this podcast, I kind of just like went down a rabbit hole and just like asked like ChatGPT, like, what are all the different like people involved in weddings? And like, it's actually pretty crazy. And I brought up like a little, so I just kind of like went through and just kind of like figured out like, the costs of weddings and, and like what's involved. So first of all, you have the venue. This is probably the most, and I'm not really going in order, but I'm thinking by importance of like things. So you have your venue. You have your average cost is like $8,000 to $15,000 for a venue.
I feel like that's average, yeah.
And then there's catering. It's about $100 to $200 per person. Then there's a wedding planning coordinator. That could be full service, $3,000 to $6,000, and then a day of coordinator could be like $1,000 to $2,000. So right there, I mean, just with those three things, that's expensive. Yeah. But now let's go a little further.
Here's the rabbit hole we were talking about.
So, you have all these things and now you want to hire a photographer. I would say 90% of the weddings are going to have a photographer. I don't think you're going to skimp on a photographer. You guys are really the most important people that are really going to capture the day. You can't really say no. So a photographer, $3,000 to $5,000. Yeah. Okay. And then it gets down to video, $2,500 to $4,500. I thought that was interesting. That was less. Considering how much gear, how much time it takes to actually edit a wedding. Correct. It's a little bit less. Correct. We'll get back to that and the differences. I just wanted to kind of go through like all the different people involved in a wedding and just get people thinking. Yeah. Then there's a florist. Because you got to have flowers. You got to have flowers. You got to have flowers. So $2,000 to $5,000. There's a DJ or band. DJ's $1,000 to $2,000. Yeah. A band, $4,000 to $8,000. I feel like that's on the low side too. Yeah, I think that is. Then a band, $4,000 to $8,000. No, that's accurate. That's accurate. Ceremony officiant, $300 to $600. Wow. Or you can get your friend to officiate it online for a certificate for a low price of $29.99. Yeah, yeah. Which I'm seeing a lot of those lately. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of those. Yeah. Hair and makeup. Yeah. Could have a hair and makeup person. Yeah. Which is important. Invitations and stationaries. Yep. Transportation. Wedding attire, dress, rentals, suits, shoes, decor and rentals. And then I have like unnecessary wedding costs, like favors and gifts.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Photo booth.
Yep. That's like an extra add-on. Yep.
And then there's different packages with that. And then we have elaborate wedding favors, and then there's stationaries and stuff like that.
Wow.
Linens and tableware. You can get really really nice stuff.
If you want to change it from the basic of simple white or simple black or
Then we got different outfits for the bride. You know, she got her wedding dress.
Oh, true.
Maybe she wants to have a second dress. You know.
Yeah.
Over the top cake designs.
Wow, we didn't even get. I'm like going through the whole list. I was like, wow, we didn't even get to the cake.
There's
yet.
a lot. Yeah. Wow. There's like specialty transportation, like buses or limos
buses, limos. Yep.
Let's see. What else is there? There's a dance floor, lighting, uplighting, effects.
Those are all add-ons.
I said the photo booth, over the top signs and custom neon signs. You know, the couples.
The ones. Yep, the names on the top of the.
Let's see. What else is there? Oh, there's champagne towers, signature drinks.
Yeah.
And how about open bar?
Or not open bar.
Yeah. I mean,
I heard like an open bar is like a minimum of $6,000.
Yeah, it says here in Western Mass, it goes from $2,000 to $6,000.
Yeah.
And they based it on average cost per person. So it's like $20 to $50. And there could be people at your wedding that don't drink.
Correct.
So you're still paying for those people.
Correct.
So there's 150 people. They're still counting those people.
Correct. I wonder, Jeff, if they're like, it can cost you up to $6,000 because you have 150 guests. But I wonder if there's something in the clause of, what if only 25 people drink? Yeah. That would be very unfair for the bride to have to pay for all of that. So I wonder if there's a clause in there where it says, at the end of the night, we tally up everything that was done, and then you pay us for that plus a $500 commission fee or something like that. So you don't have to pay the 6 weeks. To me, that would be fair. That would be unfair to charge based on how many people are coming if 50% of the people are only drinking waters or sodas and or nothing.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, like, you know, it's hard to tell.
Very hard.
But that's just like an average cost.
Yeah. Wow,
you know, there's a lot of like
that's crazy
packages. Let me see. There's like, I'm almost done. And I just wanted to kind of just touch on, you know, overloaded like dessert tables and like spreads like that, which is cool. I think it's pretty cool to have like cake and, you know, different desserts.
Donuts.
Yeah.
Pretzels.
Yeah.
Cookies, cookie bar, mini cupcakes, big cupcakes. Wow.
I mean, I went to a wedding where they had little grilled cheeses and tomato soup.
Yep.
I thought that was kind of cool. You know, pretty cool. You know what I mean? But it's like when it comes down to the wedding, it's just like, that's, you know what I mean? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I'm almost done.
This is a long list.
So there's live painters.
Yep. That is a new thing
I met a woman that she did a live painting and she was there just like, you know, getting the portrait of them. And I thought it was pretty amazing. I thought that was pretty cool. Definitely different.
Yep.
Yeah, those, I don't really know how much those are. Luxury portable restroom trailers.
Yep.
What else is there?
Tent, if you need a tent.
Yeah, tent. There's a lot involved. There's a lot of hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
You know, weddings are a big industry. Even putting the name wedding on something, or say, I have some flowers, and then calling them wedding flowers. There's a wedding tax involved in that. So,
wow.
So I mean, like I said, and when it comes down to like, you know, I would love a videographer, but they blew their budget on so many different things, and I just feel like everyone values things differently.
100%.
And I feel like I think they need to prioritize what's expensive. And for me, like I feel like the wedding is a very important day, and I feel like it's like it's going to be one of the only days in your life where both your family and friends on both sides are together in one room for one day. Mm-hmm. That'll never happen again. I don't think ever, unless it's your funeral.
Right.
But you know, it's a very it's a great opportunity to blend the families together. They're meeting each other. They're getting to know each other during like cocktail hour, and I just feel like, why not record that in a video? You know. And it's hard, and I feel like I have to say that over and over again. I feel like I'm always convincing, but I'm just trying to get people to understand, like, out of every day in your life, this would be the best day to do your own personal movie. You know? So yeah, that's just, I thought that was really interesting.
That's interesting.
I wanted to pull, and first of all, I don't want to come down on any people involved in these industries. I have a lot of respect for you.
Yep.
But it's actually hindering me trying to provide a great service to the client, because at the end of the day, all these things that I just talked about, they're for one day.
Yep.
In the venue for 6 hours. And they're spending $15,000 to $20,000 on a venue that they're only going to use for 6 hours. It just, when it comes to value and things that you value, you want it to last a little longer. I mean, your photos, they're going to last. They're going to be in an album. You're going to look at them. You're going to share them on Facebook. The video is something that's you're going to share. It's going to bring you back to the time of when you guys got married. Think of all the, the times you're being pulled in different directions. You're going to miss your cocktail hour because you're taking photos. There's people enjoying they're enjoying your wedding. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a way of just bringing people back in time. Like, wow, I missed so much.
Now, speaking of cocktail hours, do you find lately any of the weddings that you've been doing, you found that a lot of the brides and grooms and wedding couples are now starting to be part of the cocktail hour?
Yeah.
There means you're doing the formal pictures ahead of time. I've noticed that lately a lot. My weddings have been doing things earlier so they can be part of the cocktail hour.
Yeah, I feel like they want to be part of the day. They want to be present. They want to hang out with the people they invited.
Yeah.
And I feel like having a first look is the best way to do that, because you can get all the photos ahead of time and get all those moments so they can spend with their or at least half of their,
at least 45 minutes to 30 to 45 minutes with them.
Or just time to chill out before they do their introductions.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people have been leaning towards that once they realize that. And I feel like one of the things that I feel like people are not doing in the industry anymore in their weddings is a receiving line.
Yeah.
People this whole year, I can think of only one that did a receiving line out of all the weddings that I did, where you walk out the front door and you shake hands with every single person down the thing. So now they're starting to do their pictures and their first look before the ceremony, do the ceremony, they freshen up, and then they come back to the cocktail hour so that they don't have to do a receiving line, and then they don't have to go around and do all of the tables either, because they've already seen all of their guests during the cocktail hour.
Yeah. I feel like that's like a Catholic wedding thing.
Yep, it is 100%
but I think
receiving lines.
it's pretty cool just to hang out. It's like you're coming down the aisle and like all the guests are leaving.
Yep.
Why not stick around and say, hey, thank you for coming. I mean, everyone has their preferences,
Correct.
But I think that's pretty
cool.
More,
and you're right, Catholic churches do that more. And I feel like there is a mom or a parent or a grandparent of the wedding couple that influences them about doing that, because that's what they did.
Yeah.
Back in whatever.
Yeah.
I was married in 91. So back then you did those receiving lines kind of thing like that. Those are not happening now. And a lot of times when parents and grandparents get involved with their daughter or granddaughter's wedding or grandson's wedding, they have a lot of influence when it comes to what they used to do and or what you should do. And I feel like a lot of people this is where I feel like video is starting to make a comeback with being just as equally important as photo and video together. I don't feel like as a competition where, okay, if we've got some extra money left, we'll look at video.
Sure. Yeah.
Now they're looking at photo and video. We just talked about combos and stuff like that and combo packages. A lot of people are doing these combo packages with the photo and video together because they're finding in my opinion, the importance of both.
Yeah.
Photos are great.
Yeah.
I can tell a story with one image.
Sure.
You can look at that image and say, oh my God, I remember that day, or the rain. I can feel that. With video, you have movement, motion, and sound that goes along with it. It's different than photos. And I tell my couples that I can do a video. I said, but I stay in my lane. You and I just had this conversation. I do nothing but photos.
Yeah.
You want a videographer, call Jeff.
Yeah.
Here he is.
Exactly.
You figure out what the best budget is, what package works for you, and then you figure out if we are a good combination for your day.
Yeah, and that gets me thinking, I think the first time I met you was with Shelby and Derek.
Shelby and Derek.
which was cool because it was refreshing because like I've worked with a lot of photographers and like you were just great to work with. Like there was no competition. You were even asked me like, Jeff, do you need anything? I'm like, wait, what? No, I'm serious.
I throw people
No,
off
you
with
were
it.
very like,
I appreciate that.
you were very
I
just
appreciate
accommodating and just like that stuck in my mind. And like ever since then, like you were just really enjoyable to work with. And like, it made it fun shooting weddings again because I've had a lot of negative interactions with photographers that just they take over the day. They think they're the most important people in the room.
No names mentioned.
Which they are. No, I'm not going to mention any
No names mentioned. What was your worst story interaction with a photographer?
So, okay. So I worked for another company. I do some freelance stuff with other companies out in Boston and New York. They're very like high-end weddings. And I worked with a photographer that he was actually like, I think it was like a film camera. He was doing film and he was doing, the Sony. So, it was the look of the film that they really wanted. He was very dismissive and just never really asked me what I wanted. I felt like I wasn't even there, to be honest. And I kind of felt like dismissed and like my craft was less important than his. He had a light meter and there was a lot of things going on. And I felt like it wasn't important. And I think it's very important that if you are hiring a photographer, have they worked with a videographer before? It's important.
It is important.
It's very important because like we are working for the couple. And when you make it about you and your work, I know you're trying to produce some amazing images, which you will, but you're also taking away from my crafts. Yeah. And you're jumping in and getting shots, and I'm really working on side of you, and that's what I tell the couples. Like I'm a very fly in the wall kind of style. I'm not going to ask you too many posy stuff. I'm going to work with the photographer, but I'm doing that to kind of accommodate the photographer. To be honest, like I really want some time alone with the couple just to get some moving stuff, because a lot of the stuff that they get, they're very just two-dimensional. They're posing. Well, do this, do this, do this. When it comes to video, I need movement. There's a difference. So, when I'm too accommodating to the photographer, it kind of like makes my work a little watered down. So, but yeah, I've worked with a handful of photographers. That was probably one of the worst ones because it was just, the vibe was so wrong. But then when you work with someone like yourself, or they're just amazing to work with, and it just makes it enjoyable to work with. And like those are the people I'm going to recommend to the couple. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we're working together for you, and it's not about my ego or your ego. Yeah. Like we're trying to get the best like images and video for the couple. And it becomes very frustrating for me because I am kind of a, perfectionist, and I have an idea what I want in my head. Yeah. But, if something happens, it'll bug me. And just kind of like, it'll kind of ruin my day a little bit. So all I can do is say, this is what I do. Yeah. I introduced myself like the first time at Shelby and Derek's wedding. We were doing everything that we were doing. And I always tell my couples that don't break up from what I'm having you doing when I'm done. Yeah. I'm going to line you guys up facing the ocean, facing the water, whatever. And I tell you to stay there because I want the videographer to come in there now and do what they need to do to come in there and get their movement or motion, what they do. Yeah. And the first time that you and I had met together, I kept saying, hey, is there anything else that you need or do? Yeah. Does it? And as a creative and you as a creative, I might say, hey, this looks really good with the sun right behind them. Well, for video and for photo, there's a lot of backlight that comes through. Yeah. So that's not ideal for video sometimes unless you're being really creative with a light flare. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes turning something this way here is better. So I always want to make sure that we need to work together, which we do. Yeah. And when we work together, the bride at the end, I'll go in and do my shots that I need to do that are all posed and they're all stagnant and they're all still and things like that. Then I tell them, hey, wedding party, don't move. Because Jeff's going to come in and do whatever he needs to do, and he's going to have you guys laugh, cheer, do some stuff like that, move you around. So don't move. When my part is done, you're staying right there. So we're going to be very efficient. You don't work with me for 30 minutes, and then you go work with him for 30 minutes. Yeah. We're going to piggyback off of each other. We want to be very efficient with our time because we have limited time with a couple. So we want to make sure that Also, our settings are different.
Yep.
You can shoot in a high shutter speed. I'm typically at, slow-mo, 125, and then maybe, 30 frames.
Yeah.
So it's different. You can shoot at a higher shutter. Typically, you don't want to have the sun facing them because they're going to be squinty and blinded.
That's right.
Backlight's going to look a little harsh.
Yeah.
Usually from the side, or put them in the shade.
Correct. Shade is always ideal.
Shade is always great, unless it's uneven shade and there's hot spots in their face, so you got to move them around.
Our first wedding together, we were on the ocean.
Yeah.
So we had that. There was no shade there. Sure. We were just working, with the whole sand and everything else. So there was no shade for that. So we just had to figure out the best part to do that, and to accommodate. One of my questions to you is, what do you do when you've never worked with the DJ and or the photographer and you're showing up at a wedding? Yeah. What's your process? Do you reach out to them prior, or do you meet with them on that day?
Usually, DJs, I usually, don't reach out. I agree.
When you show up on the day, though, what do you do?
So for photography, I like to either send out an email just to say hello. I don't like to meet photographers for the first time and say,
good advice.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I like to just say an email and just say hello, and I just let them know that I have a very fly in the wall. Like, I understand that they have a job to do. I have a job to do, and I don't want to, necessarily take away from what they're doing. But there's certain things that I need, and there's certain things that they need, and I'm very accommodating. DJs, I usually like to say hello and not say, hey, can I plug into your system?
Yeah.
They don't like that. They don't like when you just.
But they know you need to, though.
Yeah, they do. But
they know you need to.
I definitely be respectful of what they're trying to do, especially when they're setting up. I like to just make sure they're done setting up.
Yeah.
And then then I'll talk to them. Because I know they're just busy.
Yeah.
But they know what I need.
Yeah.
And I know, I'm going to talk to them eventually.
Yeah.
That's really that. I've done so many weddings. Like I said, I know that the photography is going to be the, important. They're usually the most important people there, besides the couple. But especially if they're, from another area, I just like to make them feel comfortable and not like I'm taking over.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So.
But you also got a job to do also.
Yeah.
And if you show up, you're done at the end of the day and you only had a 2-minute video because you didn't have time with the couple, or you had to work around him, or they were too pushy and didn't give you any time to work with anything, or didn't stop long enough for you to do your part, that's going to suck on your end.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like during say like when we first arrive at the hotel and maybe the photographer's not there. I know that they're going to want the same stuff as me. Like they're busy doing their hair and makeups, but I like to tell the bride that, we're going to hang your dress, we're going to do your flat lay, get all your shoes and your jewelry, your invitations all together in like maybe a box, because the photographer's going to want to do the flat lay. Yep. And I don't set that up. I let the photographer set that up. And I like to get the photographer's flat lay. Like, I don't like to change it up. I like to do what they do and complement what they set up. They put a lot of time and effort to it. And there's a lot of things that go into it. So
I'm the opposite. Yeah. I let the video person set it up the way that they want to, and then I just piggyback off of them and I take pictures at them, because I feel like I'm not very good at flat lays. I'm being perfectly but I always leave it to the video person setting up the dress. Oh my God, that's a great place. And you're not taking it one time and then bringing it back, and then I'm taking it a second time and coming back. We use the same positions. Same thing with the rings. I'll never forget. It was actually that same wedding again. I remember you seeing, and then we worked at another wedding too. I was intrigued about this. You took one of the groom's ring, and the bride's ring was down a thing, and you took the groom's ring and you spun it. And it's spinning around inside, and I'm watching. I was like, oh my God. Now, if I took a picture of that,
it would motion blur.
It's not the same. It's going to get the shot, or if a high shutter, I can get it to be still. In slow motion, that's like, I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And then another wedding, you used actually one of the uplights on the ground. And you used that pasty, the dental paste and stuff like that. And I just saw the video the other day from that wedding, and I saw that. I was like, oh my God, that is such a cool shot. And I took video clips and pictures of you behind the scenes doing that. But that was like looking at the environment and finding another way to use the rings in a and it was the uplight on the ground. It wasn't even like anything you brought. It was wicked cool.
It's crazy. I mean, I've seen photographers actually have their own little Tupperware kit of like just things and just they'll put like a piece of wood to elevate the invitations and do other stuff and bring little ribbons and stuff. And it's crazy. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, but it's all about the details. And like, to be honest, like that's my favorite part of the wedding is like the getting ready stuff. I think you can get like really creative and get some cool shots. Not a lot of people like, oh yeah, you can just show up, film a ceremony.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what about your getting ready stuff? Like there's, I'm telling a story. Like, no, I'm not really interested. I'm like, all right, cool.
Do you feel like you have to educate people on what you do? Because when they say, I'm looking for a videographer, they have no idea in detail what you do.
Yeah. I feel like...
Do you feel like you have to educate people?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone's been to a wedding, but they've never been in the wedding as the main attraction.
Correct.
So, I mean, I like to just kind of let them know I'm going to be there when hair is just about done, all the way to the reception. There's, there are different parts of the day that I think that are important, some that are not. When I first started, I remember I was there for like 12 hours. I was getting 4 hours of hair and makeup. I'm like, I'm not going to use any of that. So, I've, over the time, I want to utilize my time best. No one's going to want stuff when they're not ready, like no makeup, no hair. No one's going to want to see that. So now I'm just very efficient with my time, and I use this time to just capture the details, my establishing shots of where I'm at, the dress, the rings, the flat lays, the stuff, the shoes, put the shoes in, have them pick up the shoes. There's a whole sequence and stuff even before I started filming the bride. So yeah, there's a lot that I think, but I have a shot list in my head.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I do use the same shots for almost every wedding. It's more of a style and a preference, but it's, even when they put their shoes on, I'm like, lift up your dress. And they're like, whoa, that's kind of weird. But they lift it up and then I say, drop it. And you can just see it drop, but I'm shooting in slow-mo and it's just cascading down.
Exactly.
But
that's what I mean. You have to educate them on even day of.
Yeah.
It feels weird to say, I feel like going back to the shoes thing when they put them on. To me, it doesn't matter what order. Some people have to put the shoes on before they put the dress on.
Yeah.
Because the dress has to go over the top and they can't bend over to do that. So I get that. So then I have to put the dress on and then I have to sit them down.
You put the dress on?
No, then they have to put the dress on and then I have to pretend they're putting the shoes on afterwards because they're already on.
Yeah.
And some people like ankle high, they'll pull it up just enough to get the strap on. I was like, listen, just a little bit higher so you see a little bit of your calf right there, not above the knee, but just to the knee, because what I'm taking a picture of is the elongated of the leg and you're leaning over with your arms bending. That makes more sense. So that's the education part I'm talking about.
I mean, it may seem kind of weird, like filming someone getting dressed.
Yes, yes.
But, but it's also on the other hand, schools, like sometimes I show up to the groom and he's already dressed.
Already dressed, 99% of the time.
I'm like
99% of the time.
So I basically tell him, can you
take the jacket off?
Can you undress? Don't take your pants off, but like, I just want to see, like, very basic. I just want to, get you near a window.
Yeah.
Not by a wall, and just involve people that are going to help you, like your best man.
Yeah.
If you have a father, a mother,
adjust
have
the tie,
pin the, have a moment. Yeah. Adjust him, adjust each other. Put your suspenders on, adjust your tie. There's a lot of things. Put your shoes on. Show your cool socks. You know what I mean? But guys are super simple. Like guys, I can get in and out around 20 minutes with a guy.
15 minutes and I'm done. And it's usually my second shooter that does the guys because I'm over with the girls.
Yeah, mainly I just want the guys to hang out.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind just hanging out with the guys. They can have some drinks, have some shots, and like, hey, let's get dressed.
Yep.
And then once they're dressed, hey, we can get some cool shots before we leave.
Yeah.
Like let's utilize this time.
Yep.
And if you want to take your jacket off, that's totally fine. But yeah. I mean, it's not always about the bride. Let's include the guys for a little bit. You know what I mean? It's his big day too. He found his helper, his wife.
Yep.
I want him to be important as well. I don't want to keep him on the sidelines and not give him as much attention as the bride.
Do you feel like guys and grooms are a lot more reluctant doing any kind of getting ready photos or video before the wedding? Meaning, I've had some people say, you know what, just photograph our guys at the formals and that's it. We don't need any part of that. Do you find like a lot of guys lately have been doing that?
I feel like,
shy, timid.
Yeah, timid, or just maybe socially awkward. Maybe they're just kind of camera shy. Maybe they don't care.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. They don't care about the whole thing.
Yeah.
But they're like, I don't care about getting my jacket put on.
Yeah. I just try I just try to make it a complete story, and it's about her and him.
Yep.
And it's like, I like to edit my films where, he's getting ready and she's getting ready, but I film it like, like they're getting ready simultaneously. And stuff like that. So, like it's just part of the story. Like I want, and to be honest, she's probably wondering what he's doing. And she's, so they both get to see each other get ready.
Correct. In your final film, when they're sitting down with their feet up with a drink and they're watching their thing, they're like, oh my God, that's what you were doing when I was getting ready for this. That's the difference with photo and video. That's the difference that separates. My pictures will show what you did as you swipe. With video, you're watching it, you're listening to it, you're experiencing it. That's when I tell people when they're looking for video, that's the difference. You experience your video set to music in cinematic form when you get your package back from him. That's the difference.
Another thing I like to do, some people just do a basic ceremony and it's just, they say their I do's, I love you, and they kiss and they're gone. I like to really make it personal. I like when people take the time and write their own vows and they say something personal. But if they don't, I like to do a letter reading or a card reading.
Oh, okay.
So,
Is this staged?
Well, it's a little bit staged, but I basically say, just write a card to one another. Just like say hello, say how you doing.
That's awesome.
Something, like just come from the heart. Just write a little note to your wife. Like, I'm so happy I met you.
Yeah.
I have them keep a copy of what they wrote. So when she's dressed and they're dressed, I have the card on the table or the bed. I get them picking up the card, opening up the card, reading the card.
Yes.
But I record their audio. I record him reading his card to her. And vice versa. So when he's opening up the card, he's not reading, ever since I was a little girl, I always wanted to meet the... It's kind of weird. I like her listening to his words. So I can just record her reaction reading it. I don't want her to read it out loud. I want her to read it so I can capture the emotions of what she's saying. And I like to, inter-edit of like them getting ready. And then, it's part of the story. It's just like it's part of the vows and the speeches. It's for me, it tells a story. And they love it, but they would have thought about it. And sometimes they forget about it. There's a lot of things that I like to just, they don't have to do it.
Right. But that's what experience comes with that. So I want to go back and clarify the word that I used.
Sure.
Staged. I don't mean that as a generic, we just redo and pretended. I didn't mean it like that. I meant it like it's a forethought, that premeditated thought. Like if I know this, I know, even if it's just a smart short card that they read, it's not staged, it's planned. Because your end result in your video is going to be X. So it's not staged as in generic, we just made this up, let's pretend we're doing this. This is a pre-planned thing in your process of what you do. So stage sometimes doesn't mean generic as an afterthought. It's a forethought ahead of time that this is what the intentions are doing because the end result when you get the video is going to be X. And I like that. I don't mean staged as in we're making... For me, I will, if her hair and makeup is done, I will stage her touching the eyelash with her mascara. That's a staged shot. It's been done for an hour already. Touching the lips that are already done. That's a staged shot. But for photos, I need those for my end result.
I do the same thing. We call it mock makeup.
Mock makeup,
It's just like, touching up the lips. I don't really necessarily need that.
Correct.
Or the eyelashes and all the stuff. Or just a little bit of something or a backlit of her doing her perfume. Or, even when they're doing their first look, it is staged. We are putting him in a location and we're telling her to walk up to it. But we're directing.
Correct.
We're kind of flowing the whole day and kind of like setting it up. But to be honest, they need direction and they're relying on us to see what looks best. You know what I mean? Like we've done so many different weddings. you know, so they kind of rely on us to show them in the best light.
Yeah, because they don't know what they're doing.
No.
They have no idea what they're doing, and they're looking for
direction.
Somebody that can help them not feel awkward. And that's where people like you and I come in and say, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do this because of this and because of this. Okay, that's good. Once they know what they're doing and why they're doing it, they're comfortable with that. But sometimes we have to help them along the way, you know, get into that place. And I'll go up to the groom and I'll say, or the dad, okay, you're facing that wall or that ocean view or that field for whatever. She's going to walk up behind you. She's going to tap you on this shoulder. You're going to turn this way because I'm on that right. Usually what happens is when they tap on the shoulder, they turn the other way. So you get the groom's back of his head as he's turning, and that's not what we want. So I will stage or give instruction because I want them to do what I want them to do because I'm photographing from that side. And my second shooter gets the face of the groom. I get the face of the bride.
And we're also, you know, when you're doing first looks, you have, you know, your photography and then you have the videography. We have to make sure that we're on the same 180. If I'm for both doing a thing and I'm getting a first look and I'm seeing you, to be honest, I don't want to see any photographer. You don't want to see any videographer.
That's true.
So we need to be actually right next to each other, getting those shots to remove that third wall. Or the fourth wall, they call it.
And I make sure I check with the video person about where do you think this would be a good spot? Where are you standing? Okay, I'm going to stand right next to you. So we both basically the same angle, but at the same time, you're getting movement to what you're doing, and I'm just getting still images.
When you do your first looks, do you just allow them to? You tell them, you know, what to do, but do you just allow them to just kind of do in one continuous motion, or do you have them? Okay, stop. Look over here, smile. I've done that. I think it's kind of strange. I think you're just interrupting the flow, and it's actually interrupting the video because it's like, all right, she's looking, and I'm like, this is on video. I can't get an interrupt, and I can't do it again because it's not going to be genuine.
Correct.
I feel like there's a time where you just need to let people just
100%
do it and let it be organic, you know, and just let it happen the way it's supposed to happen. Give them direction and just let them do their thing. And then let them enjoy the moment when they're doing the first look. Not like, all right, cool, let's go into photos. No, give them 5 minutes.
I walk away.
I have a mic on him and I'm capturing his general reaction. And, you know, it's just those moments where he's getting teared up, they're talking. You know, I like to just like let that moment kind of ride out for as long as possible. And then usually when they start looking at us, I'm like, all right, cool, we can go into the photo session now, you know?
So one of my questions I wanted to ask you is, you show up at a venue that you work at all the time, beautiful overlook, you know it's going to be a beautiful day, and it's an absolute hurricane of a raining day out there. What would be, from a professional videographer's point of view, how would you make a day epic knowing that you're limited because you can't go outside?
That's interesting. I mean, because
this is where experience comes in now.
I mean, because you really can't predict the day. And I feel like, you know, it's just like life. You have a vision in your head the way you want things to go. And all of a sudden it rains and you're just like, oh, wow. It's difficult because it certainly changes the vibe of the wedding.
It changes your shot list.
Changes the shot list. For photo, actually it looked pretty good for diffused light when you have clouds and you know, stuff like that. But for video, I mean, I don't like to be in the rain. It's good to have a contingency plan. Like if there is a tent, cool. If there's a cool place, you know, inside the venue or you can take photos, great. But yeah, I mean, you got to plan for the unexpected. And you got to keep that momentum and keep them engaged. You know, I know deep down she's upset. And you got to do something that's going to make it almost like save the day. You have to do something from video wise. How, you know, can you incorporate the rain in some way? Meaning, could you send them out with either 2 umbrellas or 1 umbrella and obviously one above you also, and do any kind of outside walking of some sort? Now that they have to be willing to do that, I get that, but is where, you know, that 60 frames and 120 frames where you do something in slow motion, or is there a way to kind of encompass and include the rain but without getting wet? I mean, I want to
creatively,
see,
what would be your process?
yeah, I want to see what she wants to do. Obviously, she's wearing a very expensive dress, and it's white.
Yep.
Rain creates mud.
Yep.
Good point. I don't want her to be, to go outside and risk dirtying her dress just for photos. She's got to wear this dress unless she has a second or third dress.
Yeah.
But whatever she feels comfortable with. I think having the cool umbrella, it's good. Most of them they're down to do anything.
Yeah.
I want to keep her as dry as possible,
100%.
as happy as possible. It's difficult.
Yeah.
There's really. I just want to make sure that I am getting the best video and images because I promised her it's going to be like this, and it's going to look different when there's not a beautiful blue sky and it's sun is shining. So
good point.
Yeah.
Last question for me. Describe your style.
Okay.
I know you're cinematic, rockstar cinema. Does that mean you only do in that style?
Yeah. I would think my style is more storytelling.
Storytelling.
Based.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's really easy for someone to show up with a camera and just record video.
Yep.
But I really want to record the essence of their story, and I'm going to use parts of their speeches and letter reading, card readings, important people in their life, maybe their grandmother or their grandfather.
Would be the style then.
I want it to be something they want to watch over and over again. So I'm constantly trying to find ways of pulling people of importance into their day. And then my style is just, I do a lot of slow-mo. Sometimes I use a lot of cinematic Batman themed. Yeah. Sometimes it's just
I've seen your
over
videos.
the top. Sometimes
your videos are just so, and when I say elaborate, I don't mean above and beyond where they're like too much. But they're so intricate and so entwining and so inviting that you're just watching. There is a flow. When you watch your video, when you put them up on your YouTube and stuff like that, what you said, there's a flow all the way through your video that is consistently flowing all the way to the end. It's not, you know what I mean? And there's a difference. Some videos are like, not herky-jerky, but you go from one place to the next. Yours just flows all the way through, and I love watching them because it just goes like this and like this. I love it.
So when I think about
storytelling,
the day,
I like that.
It's basically, it's not linear. I'm not filming the day from beginning to end, and that's how it is. I may take a part of the end of the night and make it a part of the beginning of the night. I may find something that the speeches say about love and
so that's a creative decision, I feel like.
Yeah, it is.
I feel like that would be a creative decision on your end.
I like to think of it as like a puzzle, and then the day is the puzzle, and I'm dumping it on the table, and I'm taking pieces of the day to make the overall vision of it, and incorporating music and complementing the best shots.
Yeah.
Like I'm there all day, 8 to 10 hours.
Yep.
I'm not using every shot. I'm using the best of the best.
The best of.
And we're calling it a highlight.
Yep.
And I'm cutting out all the fat.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I'm doing, and I'm trying to just tell the story, which I may not know what it is in the beginning of the day, but I will find it. Yeah, I'll find it.
It's a huge topic right now. With everybody having so much technology at the tips of their fingers, have you ever had anybody, this is not even in my notes, have you ever had anybody ask you for the raw files?
Yeah. I mean, people ask for the raw files, but I always ask them, like, what are you going to do with
What's
them?
your intentions?
It's like asking a baker. It's like, hey, can I have your ingredients to the cake?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not going to give it to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're not going to know how to do anything with the ingredients unless you have a recipe.
Yeah.
My style and my creativity, my skill is the recipe. If they dabble in video and they maybe want to edit some stuff, cool. I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind giving them the raw files for an extra charge.
Yep.
It's really cheap.
Yep.
But I always just ask, what's your intention?
What's your intention?
A lot of people think raw files is like, a raw video from beginning to end, how things go. It's more of like a documentary edit. Raw for me is just the files.
Yeah.
You're going to get the files on a USB or a hard drive, and then you kind of got to figure out what you want to do with it. But I mean, do they ever ask you for raw files?
Once in a while, I'll have somebody, and again, I shoot raw, so you're not putting this in computer and opening up unless you got, another program like Lightroom or something like that. So my first question is, what's your intentions? I had one person ask me for the raw files before because their friend was a photographer. So I said, okay, well, why don't you just have your friend photograph your wedding? It never came down to me turning over the files, but I was just curious about why they were asking for the files. And I guess if you want raw files from a photographer because you want to edit your own way, then you don't have the right photographer to start with. Why not just get the photographer that has your style? That way you don't have to go through the time of getting the files and doing them yourself. So I've only maybe once or twice in 10 years, somebody's asked me for the raw files. And both times, either they didn't want to spend the money or I didn't get them as a client, but they were asking me prior to the consult, will I turn over the raw files?
I always ask that too. Like, what's the intentions of using it? Because, I do own the video, but they have like, I want to put the best stuff out there. And, maybe you took a photo that you weren't too happy about and you made it look amazing. It could reflect poorly on you. Like, oh, wow, this is a really crappy photo.
Correct. But look what I did in Photoshop and edited it. The final product is the final product. They don't care how it was taken. The client, all my weddings, they don't care if I was underexposed, overexposed, if my white balance was off. They don't care. When I get it back and it's right, they'd be like, wow, that's a great pic. Even though I completely underexposed it just to get the moment. But in digital files and that are raw, you can recover so much for them and get something like, wow, that's really cool.
To be honest, I'm really just selling the final delivery of the day.
Correct.
And I don't really want to give them the raw photos or the raw video. Some of it's rough. There's a lot of rough things, and could be recording, and it's just some rough stuff. And I just really want to give them the best
of the best.
And that's at the end of the day, that's all they want.
So I am done with all of my questions. You said you had a couple of questions.
I had a couple of questions for you. So what inspired you to get started in photography?
My son. My son was born 1 pound, 7 ounces, 12 inches long. He was given a 3% chance of life, and anything after 3% was going to be a lot of medical challenges that were going to be coming through. We prayed a lot, and it took us a long time to get pregnant. So I was just trusting God, and I was going to go to film camera. So I just went and put some film in the camera, and I just started documenting things that were happening in the hospital. Cool. We were in there for 6 months, so we were in there for a very, very long time. And from there, he was only supposed to live 3 days. He's now 24 years old. So for us, all I did was document everything that was happening in his life for the next 3 years after that. And then we got involved with charities, and then I'm taking his pictures and documenting it. That's how people just started saying, hey, can you take pictures of my family? Cool. And then 18 years ago now, I put a camera, I had a camera in my hand, and I did my first wedding. And that was 18 years ago.
Prior to that, you had a really good job.
I was working in a machine shop.
So I think that's cool. And I admire people that, they have a great job, but they take a risk and they do something creative that may not pan out financially, but they're very happy doing it. And there's some times that I love what I do, and I feel very fortunate and blessed that I can actually do the thing that I like to do and have the time to be at home with my dog and spend time with the family and stuff like that. That stuff's amazing. I have another one for you.
Good.
So what is your favorite part of like the wedding day to capture, and why?
I say this in a very general way. My favorite part is start to finish. There's different aspects of it that I don't look forward to. And then there's I don't look forward to the formal pictures with the wedding party.
It's stressful.
It's not only stressful, but it's very difficult. I'm only one person. I can be loud, but you don't want to be loud because you come off as being bossy. So that is the part of that I love to do it because you get to get epic images with a whole wedding party having fun, and the bride and groom are going to kiss, and now everybody's going to awkwardly lean out and start looking at them and watching them, and everybody's laughing. So love that part.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just feel like they're either going to talk louder than you or they're not going to pay attention, and they're trying to be funny. But when you're talking, your mouth is open. And if your mouth is open, you're not smiling. And if you're not smiling, the picture looks stupid with 13 people in there, and the 14th person is mouth is open chewing gum. So that's the part of the day that I I dislike the most, because it's
a lot of people to manage.
That's when I have to work the hardest. That is where I need all of my time, my editing, my voice, and everything to corral everybody. I love the getting ready, close-ups of the makeup, the hair, the hairspray shot with the spray and the mist and the flash. Love that. Ceremony I love because I can be like a ninja and slide all around and get in between heads. Formals come up, it's like, oh, here we go. Let's hurry up and get this done. We get it done. Then it's cocktail hour, and then it's the reception, and then the first dance happens, and so on and so forth. So I love everything from A to B, but the formals are the part that I feel like I have to work the hardest because of the wedding part.
That is the final delivery too.
Correct.
That is the stuff that they're going to print.
Correct.
And the important stuff. That's where I back up and I let you do your thing.
Yeah.
And I get whatever I need to do. But there's a lot of things. Are you blinking? Where are your hands? It's a lot of management people, a lot of personalities. Very difficult to corral people.
And that's the word, corral. It really is.
It's difficult. And, I think it's good to have, a second shooter either naming off names or having your lists ready of the important people, getting them. So how do you communicate with couples before the wedding to ensure they understand their vision?
The first consultation, they reach out to me via email. They fill out my questionnaire. They fill it out, send back package options. Okay, Ron, we want to move forward with you. Great. If you didn't move forward with me yet, would you like to meet in person so you get all of the questions that you have out prior to? So I always ask if they have any questions. Cares, concerns, wonders, thoughts, dislikes. I need to know that stuff ahead of time. Like, I don't like this side of my face over here, so I always want to be posed on the other side. That's great. Your wedding band's on the other side, so now we're focusing on your best side. We're not focusing on the ring. So email conversations as much as possible. I do have a lot of brides that will text me asking me advice on, should I do this or should I do this? Or I need help with a caterer. Can you send me some recommendations?
Sure.
I'm looking for a videographer. Can you send me some recommendations? So there's a constant connection and communication between the two of us. But as far as their vision, I know that when we're signing the contract. I already know what they're looking for when it comes to that. 6 months later, we're doing their engagement session. So we have that conversation again. How's everything going with the wedding? What's your thoughts on this? What's your plans on this? Oh, we want to do a first look. Oh, good. At that venue, where do you want to go? We really haven't thought about that yet. Well, you need to walk around the property. Find out where you would like to do that. 1 month before the wedding, I will reach out to them. We get a phone call and thing. We go over their final itinerary of the day. So we go through and we write down saying, okay, ceremony's at 3. From there, we go, okay, first look, ceremony. We do all this stuff like this. Now my starting time is here, and then we go down the list from there. So the 1 month before, we have everything. Okay, is there anything else I need to know? Oh, yes, Ron. By the way, we're going to be doing a choreographed dance. So we're going to be doing like a foxtrot all the way around the floor. So that's all stuff that I need to know ahead of time. The day before the wedding, I'll send them a text. Hey, see you guys tomorrow. The day of the wedding, I'll send them another text. Hey, I'll see you guys at 1:30. Looking forward to this. Are you nervous? Are you excited? What's your thoughts? And they'll reply back. And then I tell them I'm showing up at 1:30. I get there at 1. And then we start shooting, that's it. So there's a constant, some sort of connection all the way through.
I've been recently including, like my final meeting, I like to include the photographer.
Yeah, we've been trying to do that.
I just want to be more efficient with their time. I think it's very unnecessary to have a meeting with your DJ, meeting with your photographer, meeting with your planner, meeting with your videographer. How about
and the list goes on.
Let's just do one meeting because we're there for the same day.
Yeah.
And then we can just get that same information and I can hear what you're going to do. And it's just it's a collaborative experience, and I feel like I just want to be efficient. Plus, it's an opportunity if I've never worked with you. Like we can actually talk and I think that's the best way of doing it. I want to be efficient with everyone's time.
100%. Yeah.
And I love that. So one of the big things I'm really trying to just do is garner a relationship between photographer and videographer. You know, I'm really trying to work with photographers and understand their process and my process. And I really want to start making more of an educational effort and bring each other together, because it's not a competition.
It's not.
It's not a competition. And I want it to be a collaborative, creative experience.
That's what it should be.
That we enjoy working together. And like, you know, since I started working with you, I do enjoy working with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Same here.
I look forward to more.
I know. I can't wait for that. I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. All right. Thank you guys for coming back to the channel with our Candid Conversations from Jeff from Rockstar Video, Rockstar Cinema. All his information is going to be down below. He does have a YouTube channel you can go check out. So if you're looking for video, this would be the direction to go in when it comes to that. But this is just conversations about the wedding industry and pros and cons and things we can see making better and things we wish wouldn't come back and things like that. Thank you guys for coming back to the channel, and that's it. Peace.